The Dukes of Hazzard wasn't just a TV show. It was pure 80s energy, roaring engines, wild chases, and unforgettable Southern charm. Bo, Luke, Daisy, and the General Lee became television icons for an entire generation. But 45 years later, the real story behind those familiar faces is far more emotional than fans remember. Some stars continued to shine, others faded from the spotlight, and some are gone forever. Now, we revisit the cast then and now in 2026, and the changes may truly surprise you. Uncle Jesse, he leans against the porch railing with weary eyes fixed on the road. Feels like a man carrying the weight of an entire family while pretending the world has not already taken too much from him in the Dukes of Hazzard. Beneath the warm smile and old country wisdom, there is quiet loneliness there too, as if every lesson he gives Bo and Luke is really a battle against losing them to the same hard world that shaped him. The face behind that unforgettable presence was Denver Pyle. Born on May 11, 1920, in Bethune, Colorado, he was 59 when the series began, bringing authenticity and emotional grounding to one of television's most beloved father figures. He had already become a defining face of classic Western television through The Andy Griffith Show and dozens of frontier dramas. His life carried personal heartbreak after the loss of his wife, while years of health struggles slowly pulled him away from acting. He died on December 25, 1997, at 77 from lung cancer, leaving behind a presence that never felt written for television, only lived in like an old Southern memory people still miss. Boss Hogg, the moment he waddles out of the courthouse in a white suit with a grin full of schemes already forming behind it, feels like corruption wrapped in charm somewhere deep inside the Dukes of Hazzard. Beneath the comedy and bluster, there is something strangely human about him too, as if greed had slowly become the only game he truly knew how to play. The man carrying all that larger-than-life energy was Sorrell Booke. Born on January 4, 1930, in Buffalo, New York, he was 49 when into the role, transforming Boss Hogg into one of television's most recognizable comic villains. A gifted stage-trained actor fluent in several languages, he had already built a respected career through dramatic roles long before Hazzard County made him a pop culture icon. Away from the cameras, he lived a deeply intellectual and private life, though years of smoking eventually damaged his health. Sadly, he passed away on February 11, 1994, at 64 by colorectal cancer, leaving behind a presence that somehow made audiences laugh at greed while still seeing the lonely man hiding underneath it. The Balladeer, his gravelly voice drifts over the dusty roads of Hazzard County like an old country song telling stories nobody else could. Feels less like narration and more like the soul of the Dukes of Hazzard itself. Beneath the humor and easy charm, there is a wandering loneliness there too, as if he already understood that freedom rarely comes without a price. Behind that unmistakable voice stood Waylon Jennings. Born on June 15, 1937, in Littlefield, Texas, he was 42 when into the series, bringing outlaw authenticity to television at the height of his legendary music career. Already a defining force behind the outlaw country movement with songs like Luckenbach, Texas, he transformed country music by rejecting Nashville's polished control. His life carried difficult years battling cocaine addiction before finally rebuilding himself through family and faith. Sorrowfully, he died on February 13, 2002, at 64 due to complications related to diabetes, leaving behind a voice that still sounds like America remembering who it used to be. Cooter. He slides out from beneath the hood with grease on his hands, and that crooked grin already knowing trouble is on the way, feels like the heartbeat of Hazzard County itself in the Dukes of Hazzard. Beneath the jokes and easygoing charm, there is loyalty there so genuine it almost feels old-fashioned now, as if fixing cars was really his way of keeping broken people together too. The face carrying all that down-home warmth was Ben Jones. Born on August 30, 1941, in Tarboro, North Carolina, he was 38 when the series began, turning Cooter into one of television's most beloved Southern characters. Long before and after Hazzard County, his life moved between acting, activism, and eventually politics, serving as a U.S. congressman from Georgia in the 1980s. And he remained deeply connected to Southern culture and storytelling, even opening a Dukes of Hazzard museum for longtime fans. Now, at 84, Ben Jones remains a presence that never felt manufactured for television, only like somebody audiences truly believed would stop to help if your engine broke down on a lonely road. Sheriff Rosco Coltrane, He spins his patrol car into another dusty disaster while shouting in panic frustration. Feels like chaos chasing the Duke boys through every back road of the Dukes of Hazzard. Beneath the comedy and bumbling bravado, there is loneliness there too, as if Rosco secretly knows he is always one step behind the respect he keeps trying to earn. The man carrying all that lovable absurdity was James Best. Born Jewel Franklin Guy on July 26, 1926, in Powderly, Kentucky, he was 53 when joined the series, transforming Rosco into one of television's most unforgettable comedic sheriffs. Before Hazzard County, he had already built a respected career across westerns and dramas, including The Andy Griffith Show. Away from Hollywood, he devoted much of his later life to teaching acting and painting, quietly mentoring younger performers after years in the spotlight. Regrettably, he passed away on April 6, 2015, at 88 from complications of pneumonia, leaving behind a presence that turned failure itself into something strangely warm and deeply human. Luke Duke. He slides across the hood of the General Lee with a grin cutting through the Georgia dust. Feels like freedom refusing to slow down no matter how hard the world tries to fence it in inside the Dukes of Hazzard. Beneath the easy confidence and outlaw charm, there is restlessness there too, as if Luke understands that life moves fast because staying still too long means facing everything you've been trying to outrun. The face carrying all that rebellious warmth was Tom Wopat. Born Thomas Stephen Wopat on September 9, 1951, in Lodi, Wisconsin, he was 28 when on the show, helping turn the Dukes of Hazzard into one of television's defining pop culture phenomena of the 1980s. While millions knew him as Luke Duke, he later reinvented himself through Broadway and music, earning acclaim in productions like Annie, Get Your Gun. His life carried difficult public struggles, including legal troubles that forced a painful period of reflection and reinvention later in life. In 2026, at 75, he remains a presence that still feels tied to a disappearing kind of American freedom, loud engines, open roads, and the stubborn belief that trouble was worth it if you were alive enough to feel the ride. Bo Duke. He launches the General Lee over a dirt road creek with pure joy flashing across his face. Feels like youth trying to outrun consequence beneath the wide southern sky in the Dukes of Hazzard. Beneath the reckless grin and fast-talking confidence, there is innocence there too, as if Bo still believes life can somehow stay wild forever without ever demanding a price in return. The man carrying all that restless energy was John Schneider. Born John Richard Schneider on April 8, 1960, in Mount Kisco, New York, he was just 19 when into the role, instantly becoming one of television's biggest young stars. Beyond Hazzard County, he later built a successful music career and reached another generation through Smallville. His life carried difficult financial struggles, public legal battles, and the heartbreaking loss of his wife Alicia in 2023, a grief that deeply reshaped him. Today, at 66, John Schneider remains a presence that still feels connected to a time when television heroes looked imperfect, hopeful, and gloriously free. Enos. He tips his hat with nervous sincerity while trying his best to do the right thing in the middle of Hazzard County chaos. Feels like kindness stubbornly surviving in a world built on shortcuts and schemes in the Dukes of Hazzard. Beneath the awkward charm and bumbling deputy routine, there is loneliness there too, as if Enos always hoped decency alone might finally earn him the place he was searching for. The face carrying all that gentle humanity was Sonny Shroyer. Born Otis Burt Shroyer Jr. on August 28, 1935, in Valdosta, Georgia, he was 44 when into the film, turning Enos into one of television's most lovable supporting characters. Before, he spent years building a steady career through Southern dramas and crime series, later even earning his own short-lived spin-off, Enos. After, his life remained deeply tied to family, faith, and his Southern roots rather than celebrity culture. Currently, at 90, Sonny Shroyer remains a presence that reminds audiences how rare genuine goodness can feel once the world stops laughing long enough to notice it. Cletus. He barrels into another disaster with absolute confidence and no real idea how badly things are about to go. Feels like Hazzard County itself somehow learned how to wear a deputy badge in the Dukes of Hazzard. Beneath the comedy and lovable clumsiness, there is an innocence there that makes him strangely human, as if Cletus never stopped believing people deserved another chance no matter how many mistakes they made. The man carrying all that warm-hearted chaos was Rick Hurst. Born on January 1, 1946, in Houston, Texas, he was 33 when he first appeared on the series. turning Cletus into one of television's most memorable comic deputies. Beyond Hazzard County, he built a long career across sitcoms and Southern comedies, though much of his life remained grounded far away from Hollywood glamour. In later years, he became deeply connected to fans through conventions and nostalgic reunions that kept the spirit of the show alive. Heartbreakingly, he passed away on June 26, 2025, at 79, leaving behind a presence that never needed dignity to earn affection, only heart. Coy Duke. The moment he leans out the window of the General Lee with cautious determination replacing reckless confidence, feels like a young man trying to honor a legacy already larger than himself in the Dukes of Hazzard. Beneath the easy Southern charm and fast-moving adventures, there is uncertainty there too, as if Coy always understood he was stepping into boots audiences were not ready to see replaced. The face carrying all that quiet pressure was Byron Cherry. Born Byron Cherry on April 17, 1955, in Atlanta, Georgia, he was 27 when joined the series. Though the Dukes of Hazzard became the defining role of his career, the intense fan backlash surrounding the temporary cast change became a difficult turning point that reshaped his path in Hollywood. He later embraced a quieter life while remaining deeply connected to longtime fans of the series. As of now, at 71, Byron Cherry remains a presence tied to one of television's strangest lessons, that nostalgia can sometimes be harder to outrun than the law itself. Lulu Hogg, the moment she plants her hands on her hips and stares Boss Hogg down with fierce Southern conviction, feels like the only force in Hazzard County capable of stopping chaos simply by refusing to back away in the Dukes of Hazzard. Beneath the humor and booming confidence, there is devotion there too, as if Lulu understands that loving difficult people sometimes means standing stronger than they ever could. The face carrying all that fiery warmth was Peggy Ray. Born on March 31, 1921, in Los Angeles, California, she was 58 when the series began, bringing grounded humanity and comedic timing to one of television's most memorable Southern matriarchs. She spent decades building a respected career through westerns and character roles, later becoming equally beloved on Grace Under Fire. Her life reflected quiet perseverance, though years of health struggles eventually pulled her away from acting. She died on February 5, 2011, at 89, leaving behind a presence that made strength feel less like power and more like love refusing to give up on people. Sheriff Little, he steps out beneath the flashing patrol lights with quiet authority steadying the chaos around him. Feels like one of the few men in Hazzard County trying to hold dignity together in a world constantly slipping toward comedy and trouble in the Dukes of Hazzard. Beneath the stern expression and measured voice, there is patience there too, as if he understands some battles are less about winning than simply keeping people from losing themselves completely. The man carrying all that calm presence was Don Pedro Colley. Born on December 6, 1938, in Klamath Falls, Oregon, he was 41 when he appeared on the series, bringing quiet gravitas to the role. Already respected from THX 1138 in years of television work, he built a career through commanding performances that often carried understated emotional weight. Away from Hollywood, his life remained deeply private and grounded far. He passed away on October 11, 2017, at 78 by cancer, leaving behind a presence that proved strength on screen never needed to shout to be remembered. Ms. Tisdale, she peers over her glasses with sharp suspicion while the latest Hazzard County scandal unfolds around her. Feels like the town's memory refusing to let anybody get away with too much for too long in the Dukes of Hazzard. Beneath the gossip and comic stubbornness, there is loneliness there too, as if watching everyone else's lives became her way of holding onto a world that kept changing without asking permission. The face carrying all that unforgettable charm was Nedra Volz. Born on June 18, 1908, in Montrose, Iowa, she was 71 when into the series, bringing warmth and razor-sharp comedic timing to one of television's most beloved busybodies. She spent decades away from acting raising a family before unexpectedly reinventing herself later in life through sitcoms and Southern comedies. That late career transformation became one of Hollywood's rare second acts built entirely on resilience and personality. She died on January 20, 2003, at 94, leaving behind a presence that made growing older feel less like fading away and more like becoming impossible to ignore. Myrtle Tillingham. She storms into the scene with fiery determination and absolutely no intention of being ignored. Feels like Hazzard County suddenly colliding with somebody far too confident to play by its usual rules in the Dukes of Hazzard. Beneath the flirtation and comedic energy, There is independence there too, as if Myrtle understands that being underestimated can sometimes become its own kind of power. The face carrying all that spirited charm was Lindsay Bloom. Born on July 28, 1950, in Omaha, Nebraska, she was 29 when she appeared on the show, bringing sharp comedic timing and glamorous confidence to the role. She built a recognizable television career through series like Dallas and numerous guest appearances that captured the bright energy of late 1970s and early 1980s television. Away from the spotlight, her life gradually moved toward privacy rather than constant fame. Nowadays, at 76, Lindsay Bloom remains a presence that reminds audiences how unforgettable television could become when even supporting characters arrived with their own spark of rebellion. Huey Hogg, the moment he flashes that slick grin while another ridiculous scheme starts unraveling around him, feels like somebody trying far too hard to live up to a family reputation built on greed, charm, and chaos in the Dukes of Hazzard. Beneath the fast talk and oversized confidence, there is insecurity there too, as if Huey secretly understands he will always be chasing approval in a town already laughing before he finishes the punchline. The face carrying all that comic desperation was Jeff Altman. Born on August 13, 1951, in Syracuse, New York, he was 30 when joined the series, bringing improvisational energy and stand-up timing to one of Hazzard County's most eccentric troublemakers. He spent years grinding through comedy clubs trying to carve out a place in entertainment during a brutally competitive era. After, his career reflected constant reinvention more than superstardom, moving between comedy, acting, and voice work over decades. At present, at 74, Jeff Altman remains a presence that reminds audiences how television once made room for oddball characters who felt messy, loud, and strangely real all at once. Dawson, the moment he squares his shoulders and steps into trouble with stubborn determination already written across his face, feels like a man trying to prove himself in a county where chaos always moves faster than common sense in the Dukes of Hazzard. Beneath the tough exterior and confident swagger, there is uncertainty there too, as if Dawson understands how easily pride can crack once the pressure finally arrives. The man carrying all that rugged intensity was Autry. Born on July 31, 1952, in Shreveport, Louisiana, he was 28 when he appeared on the series, bringing raw physical presence shaped by his years as a professional football player before turning to acting. Before becoming widely recognized from In the Heat of the Night, his life carried a major turning point when injuries ended his NFL dreams and forced him to reinvent himself completely. Away from Hollywood, he later moved into politics and public service, serving as mayor of Fresno, California. This day, at 73, Autry remains a presence that understands reinvention is sometimes less about ambition and more about refusing to stay broken by the first dream that disappeared. Elmo, he stumbles into another Hazzard County mess with nervous energy written all over his face. Feels like somebody trying desperately to belong in a world already moving faster than he can understand in the Dukes of Hazzard. Beneath the awkward comedy and exaggerated reactions, there is vulnerability there too, as if Elmo knows people are laughing before he even opens his mouth but keeps showing up anyway. The face carrying all that offbeat sincerity was Dennis Haskins. Born Dennis Dwight Haskins on November 18, 1950, in Chattanooga, Tennessee, he was 30 when he appeared on the series, bringing broad comedic energy to one of Hazzard County's more eccentric personalities. Years later, he became permanently linked to television nostalgia through Principal Richard Belding on Saved by the Bell, transforming from quirky supporting actor into a familiar face for an entirely new generation. Away from Hollywood fame, his life reflected persistence, navigating decades of changing television trends while remaining deeply connected to fans. These days, at 75, Dennis Haskins remains a presence that reminds audiences how even the most awkward characters sometimes carry the most unexpectedly human hearts. Phil, the moment he watches the latest Hazzard County trouble unfold with tired disbelief settling across his face, feels like a man who has spent years surrounded by chaos and somehow learned to survive it with dry humor instead of panic in the Dukes of Hazzard. Beneath the grounded attitude and working man toughness, there is patience there too, as if Phil understands most people are simply trying to get through life without completely falling apart. The face carrying all that lived in realism was Charles Cyphers. Born on July 28, 1939, in Niagara Falls, New York, he was 41 when he appeared on the series, bringing veteran character actor authenticity to the role. Before and after Hazzard County, He became closely associated with director John Carpenter through films like Halloween, where his understated performances made ordinary men feel deeply believable. Away from Hollywood glamour, his career reflected decades of steady work rather than celebrity attention. He died on August 4, 2024, at 85, leaving behind a presence that made even small characters feel like they carried entire untold lives behind. Lehman, the moment he steps into the middle of another Hazzard County confrontation with sharp eyes quietly reading every angle, feels like someone who learned long ago that survival often depends on noticing what everyone else misses in the Dukes of Hazzard. Beneath the cool confidence and controlled presence, there is resilience there too, as if Lehman carries the understanding that respect is rarely given freely in a world built on noise and ego. The man carrying all that grounded intensity was Stephen Williams. Born on January 7, 1949, in Memphis, Tennessee, he was 31 when he appeared on the series, bringing quiet authority to the role early in his television career. Years later, he to another generation through The X-Files as the mysterious Mr. X, building a career around characters who seemed to know far more than they ever revealed. Now, at 77, Stephen Williams remains a presence that proves the most memorable people on screen are often the ones who speak softly while everyone else is trying too hard to be heard. Benson. He narrows his eyes across a tense Hazzard County standoff while quietly calculating his next move. Feels like somebody carrying danger beneath a calm surface polished just enough to hide it in the Dukes of Hazzard. Beneath the cool control and measured confidence, there is isolation there too, as if Benson understands that men who live by manipulation eventually stop trusting anyone, including themselves. The face behind that unsettling presence was Judson Scott. Born on July 15, 1952, in Azusa, California, he was 28 when he appeared on the series, bringing sharp intensity and cinematic charisma to the role. During the 1980s, he became recognizable through memorable appearances in genre television, especially Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, where his mysterious performance as Joaquin quietly earned cult admiration despite limited screen time. His career reflected the difficult reality faced by many talented character actors navigating an industry obsessed with instant stardom. Currently, at 74, Judson Scott remains a presence that proves some performers are remembered not for how loudly they arrived, but for the strange atmosphere they left behind once the scene ended. Milo Beaudry. The moment he lumbers into Hazzard County with a grin that never quite hides the trouble behind it, feels like chaos arriving one heavy footstep at a time in the Dukes of Hazzard. Beneath the intimidating size and rough-edged humor, there is awkward loneliness there too, as if Milo understands people notice the giant before they ever notice the man underneath. The face carrying all that larger-than-life presence was Richard Mall. Born on January 13, 1943, in Pasadena, California, he was 37 when he appeared on the series, bringing imposing physicality and comic unpredictability to the role. Years later, he became permanently etched into television history through Night Court as the lovable bailiff Bull Shannon, transforming his unusual appearance into one of sitcom television's most unforgettable strengths. Away from Hollywood, while his deep voice also made him a respected figure in animation and voice acting. He passed away on October 26, 2023, at 80, leaving behind a presence that reminded audiences how often gentleness can hide inside the people the world expects to fear first. Daisy Duke. The moment she leans against the Jeep with fearless confidence glowing beneath the southern sun, feels like freedom and heartbreak somehow existing side by side in the Dukes of Hazzard. Beneath the charm, beauty, and playful smile, there is resilience there too, as if Daisy understands she has to stay strong in a world constantly trying to reduce her to an image instead of a person. The face carrying all that unforgettable spirit was Catherine Bach. Born Catherine Bachman on March 1, 1954, in Warren, Ohio, she was 25 when the series began, instantly transforming Daisy Duke into one of television's most iconic pop culture figures. While millions remembered the famous shorts and magnetic screen presence, her performance also carried warmth and emotional grounding that kept the Duke family feeling real beneath the comedy and chaos. Her life carried devastating personal loss after the death of her husband in 2010, a tragedy that deeply reshaped her world. As of now, at 72, Catherine Bach remains a presence that still feels tied to a fading era when television heroines could be glamorous, vulnerable, stubborn, and completely unforgettable all at once. Thank you for taking this ride back through the Dukes of Hazzard with us. Though the years have flown by, the memories and legacy still live on. If you enjoyed this journey, please like, subscribe, and share your favorite moments below.